The night was quiet, wrapped in the comforting scents of cinnamon and vanilla, the fragrance my wife had always loved. A warm glow from the lamp bathed the small living room in soft light, casting gentle shadows over the worn-out couch where we had spent countless evenings together. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence, blending with the faint aroma of the roast I had carefully prepared for dinner. In this moment, everything felt ordinary, perfect, even. Her laughter drifted from the kitchen, light and familiar, as she poured another glass of wine. She asked if I wanted one, her voice smooth and effortless, as if nothing had changed. I nodded, watching her move, admiring how naturally she fit into the rhythm of our life. The sound of her footsteps against the hardwood floors felt like home, steady, reassuring. She was my partner, my confidant, my love. But there were moments, small, fleeting moments when her smile seemed just a little too practiced, her laughter a touch too hollow. Her phone, once left carelessly on tables and counters, was now tucked away the instant I walked into the room. A subtle shift in her gaze, a hesitation in her touch. Little things I tried to ignore. At first, I convinced myself I was imagining it, that I was reading too much into nothing. But the feeling lingered, growing stronger with each passing day. And then, one night, while we sat together at the dinner table, it happened. Her phone vibrated, its screen flashing with a notification. A name I didn't recognize, Chad. I watched her fingers hover over the device, hesitating just long enough for my stomach to twist. Then, in one smooth motion, she picked it up and turned it off. A casual gesture, innocent perhaps, but something inside me stirred, a quiet warning I could not silence. Days passed, and then it happened again. Chad. The name gnawed at me, a strange sense of unease settling deep in my bones. I told myself I was being paranoid, that there was a reasonable explanation, but then the late night started. Work ran long. Meetings stretched past dinner. Drinks with colleagues became a frequent excuse. And yet, when she came home, the scent of perfume clung to her skin, but never the one I had bought for her. There was always something else, something foreign lingering in the air. She changed in ways I couldn't ignore. The careful attention she once paid to the little details of our life began to slip. She no longer kissed me goodbye in the morning, no longer shared the small joys and frustrations of her day. There were more secrets now. Texts sent in the quiet hours of the night, hushed phone calls that ended the moment I entered the room. Her eyes, once so open and familiar, now avoided mine just long enough to confirm what I already knew. And then the final betrayal. He thought he was safe, that I would never know, that I would never act. But when he married another woman, I sent him a gift, a simple package, unassuming in its wrapping. He opened it, read the note, and immediately froze. His wife peered over his shoulder, her breath catching as tears welled in her eyes. And then the phone rang. My wife's voice trembled on the other end of the line. Please don't do this. It was an ordinary Thursday night, but nothing about our lives would ever be ordinary again. The night was still, wrapped in the comforting scent of cinnamon and vanilla, the fragrance that had always reminded me of home. The dim glow of the lamp cast soft shadows across the living room, illuminating the worn-out couch where we had spent countless evenings together. Everything appeared normal, familiar, but beneath the surface, something had changed. For weeks, suspicion had gnawed at me, a quiet whisper in the back of my mind. The late nights, the hurried phone calls, the way she pulled away when I reached for her. I told myself I was imagining things, that I was being paranoid, and yet doubt lingered like an unwelcome guest. Then, one night, the truth revealed itself. Her phone lay face up on the table, a single text glowing against the dim light. I miss you. Can't wait for tonight. The sender, Chad. My hands trembled as I scrolled down, my pulse pounding in my ears. And then I saw it. A picture, his hand entwined with hers. Fingers locked together in a way that spoke of intimacy, of stolen moments meant for only them. The realization hit like a fist to my gut, knocking the air from my lungs. My mind spun, piecing together all the little signs I had ignored. The unexplained absences, the way she avoided my gaze, the scent of an unfamiliar cologne lingering on her skin. It had all been leading to this. My wife, the woman I had built my world around, had been seeing someone else. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to demand answers. But all I could do was stare at the screen, my breath shallow, my hands clenched into fists. The betrayal was suffocating, a weight pressing down on my chest. The next morning, I watched her from the kitchen as she got ready for work. She hummed softly to herself, blissfully unaware that I knew. She kissed me goodbye, her lips brushing my cheek, and I forced a smile, pretending that everything was fine. But I knew what had been happening behind my back. That night, I confronted her. She was sitting on the couch, flipping through a magazine as if nothing had changed. I stepped forward, my voice calm, too calm. "Who is Chad?" Her body stiffened. Slowly, she looked up, her eyes darting toward the door as if searching for an escape. The color drained from her face, guilt written in every line. She opened her mouth, but I raised a hand, stopping her. "No, I want answers." The silence between us stretched, thick and suffocating. And then finally she spoke. "It's been going on for months," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I didn't know how to tell you." The word sliced through me like a blade. Months. While I had loved her, trusted her, she had been with him. My world tilted. The foundation I had built my life on crumbling beneath me. But I wasn't done. I needed to see him, to look him in the eye, to make him understand. Finding Chad was easy. He lived in a quiet, upscale neighborhood, far removed from the mess he had created. I parked a block away, my hands gripping the steering wheel, my heart hammering in my chest. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, a mix of fury and something sharper, something colder. When he answered the door, he didn't recognize me at first. But the moment I said my name, his expression shifted. That smug, arrogant look, the kind men wear when they think they're untouchable. He invited me inside, assuming I was just another angry husband, someone who would yell, throw a punch, and then leave. He was wrong. I grabbed him by the collar, slamming him against the wall. His eyes widened in shock as I leaned in, my voice low, dangerous. "You think I didn't know?" I growled. "You thought you could play me for a fool?" He tried to speak, but I shoved him back, the impact echoing in the hallway. Then I looked down at his hand, the wedding band he had so proudly worn. "You're marrying her tomorrow." My voice was ice. "I have a gift for you." I reached into my coat pocket, pulling out a small, neatly wrapped box. He hesitated before taking it, confusion flickering across his face. But when he opened it, the blood drained from his skin. Inside was the ring he had planned to give his bride, the one I had stolen from his suitcase the night before. And beneath it, a note. "She belongs to me." His hands shook. You don't understand," he stammered, but I wasn't listening. Behind me, my wife's voice rang out, desperate, pleading. "Please, stop." I turned to leave, pausing just long enough to meet his panicked gaze. "She already knows." I smirked. "And now, you'll never forget me." But that was only the beginning. I watched, I waited, and I planned. Revenge wouldn't be impulsive. It wouldn't be loud. It would be slow, methodical, precise. Chad's world unraveled before his eyes. His reputation shattered. Pictures, texts, videos of his confession. Everything was laid bare. His promotion, gone. His friends, gone. His career, destroyed. And with every piece of his life that crumbled, I felt a satisfaction unlike anything I had ever known. But my wife? Her fall was even greater. The affair, the deceit, the betrayal, it all came to light in the worst possible way. Her friends turned their backs. Her family refused to look at her. And as I watched from the shadows, I saw the realization sink in. She had lost everything, and that was my final gift to her. She begged, she cried, she cursed my name, but her words meant nothing now. Her tears were empty, the remnants of a woman who had thrown it all away. And as I sat in the silence of what was once our home, staring at the destruction I had left in my wake, I felt something strange. Clarity. Justice had been served, but at what cost? I had become someone I never thought I would be. A man shaped by betrayal, rebuilt by vengeance. Stronger, darker, and as I looked into the mirror, I barely recognized the man staring back at me.